Blood has a smell. Metallic, sharp, unmistakable. It's the first thing Dr. Naomi Ade noticed as she turned the corner onto the empty Souls Street that October night. The second thing she noticed was the body. He was slumped against the brick wall of a closed convenience store, one hand pressed against his side, the other hanging limp. His expensive black suit was soaked through, glistening wet under the flickering streetlight. His head was tilted back, eyes closed, face pale as death itself. For a moment, Naomi thought he was already gone. Then she saw his chest move, a shallow, desperate attempt at breath. Her medical training kicked in before her common sense could stop her. She was running before she'd made a conscious decision, her sneakers slapping against the pavement, her heart hammering in her chest. She dropped to her knees beside him, her hands already reaching for his neck to check his pulse. His eyes snapped open, dark, fierce, and filled with a kind of rage that made her breath catch. His hand shot out and grabbed her wrist with surprising strength for a man bleeding out on a Seoul sidewalk. "Don't," he rasped in Korean, his voice rough and commanding despite the pain etched across his face. "No hospital." Naomi's Korean was decent, good enough to understand the words, but it was the desperation behind them that truly registered. She looked down at where his hand pressed against his side. Blood was seeping between his fingers, dark and relentless. "You're going to die if I don't get you help," she said, her own Korean accented but clear. "You've been shot." "No, hospital." Each word seemed to cost him. His grip on her wrist tightened. "They'll find me." Naomi's mind raced. She was a doctor. She'd taken an oath. But she was also a woman alone on an empty street with a man who'd clearly been involved in something violent, something criminal. Every instinct screamed at her to call the police, to get help, to walk away before whatever trouble he was in became her trouble too. But his eyes. God, his eyes. Even through the pain, even through the rage, there was something human there, something pleading. Something that said he knew he was asking the impossible, but had no other choice. "I have an apartment," she heard herself say. "2 blocks from here. Can you walk?" His laugh was bitter, painful. "Do I have a choice?" Getting him to his feet was a nightmare. He was tall, easily 6 feet, and muscular in a way that suggested violence, was no stranger to him. Naomi was strong for her size, but she was 5'6" and 130 pounds soaking wet. They stumbled together through the empty streets like drunken lovers, his arm heavy across her shoulders, her arm wrapped around his waist, both of them leaving a trail of blood drops on the pavement like breadcrumbs leading straight to her door. She prayed no one would see them. It was past 2 in the morning, and this part of Itaewon was usually quiet at this hour, but Seoul never truly slept. Every shadow seemed to hide watching eyes. Every distant sound made her flinch. They made it to her building, a modest walk-up in a neighborhood popular with foreigners. She'd been in Seoul for 6 months, working at an international medical clinic, learning the language, finding herself after a brutal breakup back home in Houston. This was supposed to be her fresh start, her clean slate, her chance to focus on medicine without the complications of her old life, and now she was bringing a bleeding stranger into her home. Her apartment was small but tidy, a 1-bedroom with a galley kitchen and a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. She decorated it with prints from local artists and plants she was slowly killing despite her best efforts. It was her sanctuary, her safe space. She kicked the doors shut behind them and half-carried, half-dragged him to her couch. He collapsed onto it with a groan that sounded like it came from somewhere deep in his couch. Soul. Blood immediately began soaking into her cream-colored cushions. She'd worry about that later. "I need to see the wound," she said, already moving to her bathroom to grab her medical bag. She kept it well-stocked, a habit from her residency days when she'd been too exhausted to know what day it was, let alone whether she'd have time to restock supplies. When she returned, he'd managed to shrug off his jacket. His white shirt beneath was ruined, stuck to his skin with blood. She grabbed scissors from her bag and cut it away without ceremony. The wound was in his right side, just below his ribs. Entry wound, no exit. The bullet was still in there. "This is bad," she said, more to herself than to him. "You need surgery. Real surgery, in a real hospital with real equipment." "Make do," he said through gritted teeth. His eyes were on her face, intense despite the pain. You're a doctor, I can tell. The way you move, the way you assess. You know what you're doing. Knowing what I'm doing and having the right tools are two different things. But even as she said it, she was laying out supplies on her coffee table. Gloves, antiseptic, gauze, sutures. She had local anesthetic, thank God. She had antibiotics. She had enough to stabilize him, maybe. Enough to keep him alive until morning. Maybe. What's your name? She asked as she snapped on the gloves. Keep him talking. Keep him conscious. He was silent for a long moment. Then, Jiwon. Kang Jiwon. I'm Naomi. Dr. Naomi Ade. She swabbed the area around the wound with antiseptic. He hissed but didn't pull away. This is going to hurt. A lot. I'm going to inject local anesthetic, but it won't block everything. When I go in for the bullet, you're going to feel it. I've felt worse. She believed him. There were scars on his torso, old ones. A knife wound across his ribs. What looked like a burn mark on his shoulder. This man was no stranger to violence. The question was, what kind of violence? And more importantly, what had she gotten herself into? The injection made him tense, his hands fisting in the couch cushions. She waited for the anesthetic to take effect, using the time to set up a makeshift sterile field. It wasn't perfect. Nothing about this was perfect. But it would have to do. Tell me about yourself, she said as she prepared to probe the wound. Distract yourself. Where are you from? Seoul. Born and raised. His accent was educated, refined. You? Houston, Texas. I'm here on a work visa, practicing at Seoul International Medical Center. She took a breath. This is going to hurt now. Try not to move. The forceps slid into the wound, and his entire body went rigid. A sound escaped his throat, something between a growl and a groan. Sweat broke out across his forehead, but he didn't move, didn't thrash. The control was impressive and terrifying in equal measure. She felt the forceps hit metal, got a grip, extracted slowly, carefully. The bullet came out clean, deformed from impact but intact. She dropped it into a bowl with a clink and immediately began packing the wound with gauze to control the bleeding. Got it, she said. Now I need to clean the wound thoroughly and close it. You're going to need antibiotics. Strong ones. And you need to rest. No moving, no stress, no excitement for at least a week. Not possible. Then you'll die of infection or internal bleeding. Your choice. She was cleaning the wound now, her movements efficient despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. Who shot you, Jiwon? Again, that silence. Then, someone who'll regret it. The certainty in his voice sent a chill down her spine. This wasn't bravado, this was a promise. She sutured the wound closed with careful, precise stitches. 12 of them neat and even. Her hands didn't shake. They never did when she was working. It was only after, when the crisis had passed, that the trembling would start. By the time she'd bandaged him and set up an IV drip of antibiotics and fluids, dawn was breaking outside her window. Soft light filtered through her curtains, turning her living room golden. Jiwon's eyes had closed, his breathing deeper now, more regular. The pain medication she'd given him was finally kicking in. Naomi sat back on her heels and looked at him. Really looked at him. Even pale and wounded, he was striking. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, a face that would turn heads anywhere. His hair was black, cut short and neat. His hands, even relaxed, looked strong. Capable. There was a tattoo on his left forearm, partially hidden by the IV line. She couldn't make out the design. What had she done? She'd saved his life. That was what doctors did. But she'd also brought a man who'd been shot, a man who refused hospitals, a man who spoke of revenge with cold certainty into her home. She'd made herself complicit in whatever he was involved in. She'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Her phone buzzed, a text from her colleague at the clinic, asking if she wanted to grab coffee before their shift. Normal life, continuing without her. She typed back a quick excuse about not feeling well, needing to rest. The lie felt bitter on her tongue. When she looked back at Jiwon, his eyes were open again, alert, watching her. Thank you, he said quietly. The words sounded strange coming from him, as if gratitude wasn't something he was used to expressing. You saved my life. It's what I do. She stood, pulling off her gloves, disposing of the bloody supplies. But you need to leave as soon as you're stable. I can't, I shouldn't. This was a mistake. You regret helping me. It wasn't a question. She met his eyes. I regret that you needed help like this. I regret whatever brought you to that street corner bleeding out. But no, I don't regret saving your life. I'm just not sure what happens next. What happens next? He said slowly, is you let me rest, let me heal. And then I'll leave. You'll never see me again. It should have been reassuring. It should have been exactly what she wanted to hear. But something in his tone suggested he didn't quite believe it himself. The day passed in a strange, surreal haze. Naomi called in sick to work, claiming a stomach bug. She checked Jiwon's vitals every few hours, changed his bandages, adjusted his medications. He slept mostly, the deep sleep of a body focused on healing. When he was awake, they didn't speak much. The television played quietly in the background, Korean dramas she only half understood providing white noise. She tried to work, to read medical journals, to do anything normal. But she kept finding herself watching him, studying him, trying to figure out who he was, what he was. The expensive suit, the scars, the tattoos she could now see more clearly, some kind of dragon design, intricate and bold, the way he'd given orders even while bleeding to death, the absolute certainty that he'd be avenged. This wasn't a random mugging gone wrong. This was something else, something organized, something dangerous. It was evening when his phone rang. She'd found it in his jacket pocket, miraculously undamaged. He'd been asleep, but his eyes snapped open at the first ring, that same fierce alertness she'd seen on the street. He reached for it, wincing at the movement. Don't answer it, she said. You need to rest. He answered it anyway. Yes. A pause. I'm alive. Obviously. Another pause. Longer this time. That's not your concern. Handle it. His eyes flickered to Naomi. No. I'm somewhere safe. That's all you need to know. He ended the call and let the phone drop onto the couch beside him. Naomi stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, watching him. Your people are worried about you. My people know better than to worry. He shifted, trying to sit up, and gasped at the pain. She was beside him in an instant, hands gentle but firm, easing him back down. Stop moving. You're going to tear your stitches. She checked the bandage. No fresh bleeding. Thank God. Who are you, really? And don't just give me a name. What are you involved in that gets you shot and makes you afraid of hospitals? For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he sighed, and suddenly he looked tired. Not physically tired, though he was that too. But tired in a way that went deeper. Soul tired. My family owns things, he said carefully. Businesses. Legitimate and otherwise. I'm the second son. The expendable one. Or so my enemies thought. Your family. The pieces were clicking into place. The Kang family? His eyes sharpened. You've heard of us. She had. Everyone in Seoul had, if they paid attention to the undercurrents of the city, the Kang Syndicate. Old money, older power. They owned restaurants and nightclubs, import-export businesses, real estate, and beneath it all, whispers of other things. Darker things. Protection rackets. Gambling. Worse. Oh God, she breathed. Oh God, I brought a mobster into my apartment. I prefer the term businessman with diverse interests. There was dark humor in his voice. But yes, if you want to be crude about it, I'm what you'd call a gangster. And someone in a rival organization decided tonight was a good night to try to eliminate me. They failed. They'll regret that failure. Naomi backed away from the couch, her heart racing. This was worse than she'd thought. So much worse. You need to leave. Now. I don't care if you're healed or not. You need to get out of my home. I can't walk yet. It was a simple statement of fact. The wound, the blood loss. Give me another day. Maybe two. Then I'll leave. No. No, I can't harbor a criminal. I'm a doctor. I have a visa. I have a career. If anyone finds out, no one will find out. He tried to sit up again, managed it this time despite the obvious pain. Naomi, look at me. She did. Those dark eyes held hers, intense, and unreadable. You saved my life. That means something. In my world, that means everything. You're under my protection now. No one will touch you. No one will harm you. You have my word. Your word. I don't even know you. And your protection? I don't want to be protected by a criminal syndicate. I want you gone. I understand that. And I will leave as soon as I'm able. But right now, the people who shot me, they're looking for me. If they find me here, they'll kill us both. So it's in both our interests that I stay hidden, that I heal quickly, and that I disappear from your life as soon as possible. Agreed? The logic was sound, even if the situation was insane. Naomi closed her eyes, pressing her palms against them. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be her life. She'd come to Seoul to escape drama, to focus on medicine, to find peace. And now she had a mafia prince bleeding on her couch. 48 hours, she said finally, lowering her hands. You have 48 hours. Then you're gone, and we never speak of this again. Agreed. But even as he said it, even as she nodded and turned away to busy herself in the kitchen, they both knew it was a lie. Some lines, once crossed, couldn't be uncrossed. Some debts, once incurred, couldn't be easily paid. She'd saved his life, in his world, that created a bond. A connection. She was already in too deep. If you're hooked on this story, hit that subscribe button right now. Things are about to get even more complicated between Naomi and Jiwon. Episode 2 is coming soon, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Drop a comment and let me know. Would you have helped him or called the police? Now, back to the story. The next morning, Naomi woke to the smell of coffee. For a moment, still fuzzy with sleep, she thought she'd imagined the whole thing. The blood, the bullet, the confession. Then she stumbled out of her bedroom and found Jiwon in her kitchen, moving slowly but deliberately, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. What are you doing? She demanded. You should be lying down. I've been lying down for 18 hours. I needed to move. He held out a mug to her. Peace offering. She took it automatically, too surprised to refuse. He'd somehow found her coffee grounds, figured out her machine, even located the sugar she kept in an unmarked container. He was wearing his pants from yesterday, cleaned as best as could be managed, but no shirt. The bandage was stark white against his skin. She could see the full extent of his tattoo now, a dragon that wound up his forearm, intricate and beautiful. You shouldn't be up, she said again, but there was less heat in it. She sipped the coffee. It was good. Too good. How did you sleep? Better than I expected, given I was shot yesterday. He leaned against her counter, taking the weight off his injured side. Your couch is surprisingly comfortable for someone to convalesce on. It wasn't designed for convalescence. It was designed for watching Netflix and eating takeout. She sat at her small kitchen table, cradling the warm mug. Morning light streamed through the window, making everything feel more real and somehow more surreal at the same time. How's the pain? Manageable. Your work is excellent. Very precise. I had a good teacher. She studied him over the rim of her mug. In the daylight, the dangers seemed less immediate but somehow more present. He was beautiful, in the way dangerous things often were. Beautiful and wrong for her in every possible way. Tell me about your family. Why? Because you're in my home. Because I saved your life. Because I deserve to know what I'm involved in. He considered this, then nodded slowly. Fair enough. My father is Kang Dae-hyun. He built the family business from almost nothing, starting in the 80s. My older brother, Kang Min-sok, is being groomed to take over. I'm the spare. The insurance policy. The one who handles the messier aspects of the business, while my brother maintains our legitimate face. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this story, tap that like button. It really helps the algorithm share this with more people who love dark romance and mafia stories. And stay tuned, because the chemistry between these two is about to intensify. And someone tried to kill you because? Because eliminating me weakens my father's position. Because rival families think I'm a threat. Because I made enemies doing what I do. He shrugged, then winced. Take your pick. In my world, there are always reasons to kill. That's a horrible way to live. It's the only way I know. There was no self-pity in his voice. Just fact. I was born into this. Raised in it. I'll probably die in it, though hopefully not this week. Naomi shook her head. There has to be a way out. You could leave. Start over somewhere else. And be hunted for the rest of my life? No. You don't leave the Kang Syndicate. You either rise in it or you die in it. Those are the only options. He met her eyes. But you're different. You chose medicine. You chose to help people. That's admirable. It's what I was always meant to do. My mother was a nurse. She died when I was 16, cancer. I watched the doctors fight for her, watched them do everything they could. It wasn't enough, but the fact that they tried, that they cared, it meant everything. I knew then that I wanted to be that for other people. And your father? Remarried within a year. Someone young, someone who didn't want his teenage daughter around. I raised myself, mostly. Worked my way through college, through med school. Built myself from nothing, like your father. Except I built something that saves lives instead of taking them. The words hung between them, sharp and accusatory. Ji-won didn't flinch. You think I enjoy it? The violence? I think you accept it too easily. Accepting reality isn't the same as enjoying it. I do what I must to survive, to protect my family, just like you did what you must when you brought me here, instead of leaving me to die. He pushed off from the counter, moving slowly back toward the couch. We're not so different, you and I. We're completely different. Are we? You broke the rules to save me. You're harboring a criminal. You're lying to your employers, your colleagues. All to preserve a life. My life. That makes you complicit, whether you like it or not. The words stung because they were true. She had broken the rules. She was lying. She'd crossed lines. She'd promised herself she'd never cross, all in the span of a single night. I hate that you're right, she said quietly. I hate that I had to be saved by someone with a conscience. It complicates things. But there was something in his voice that suggested he didn't hate it as much as he claimed. The day passed more comfortably than the previous one. They talked, carefully at first, then with increasing ease. He told her about Seoul, about the places tourists never saw, the hidden restaurants and secret gardens. She told him about Houston, about the heat and the sprawl and the strange beauty of a city built on oil and ambition. They watched terrible Korean game shows and argued about whether the contestants were actually that enthusiastic or just good actors. It was against all logic and reason, almost nice. In the afternoon, his phone rang again. This time, the conversation was longer, more heated. She couldn't understand all of it, his Korean too rapid and colloquial, but she caught enough. Plans, movements, revenge. When he hung up, his face was dark. They found the shooter, he said. The one who shot me. My men have him. What will you do? What do you think I'll do? She looked away. She didn't want to know. Didn't want to think about it. This man, who drank coffee in her kitchen and argued about game shows, was also capable of ordering someone's death without hesitation. I should check your wound, she said instead, deflecting. He let her, shifting to give her access. She peeled back the bandage carefully. The stitches were holding, no signs of infection. His body was already starting to heal, faster than she'd expected. Good genetics or good luck, she wasn't sure which. Her fingers brushed his skin as she applied fresh bandaging. He went very still. She became suddenly, acutely aware of how close they were. Of the warmth of his body. Of the way he was looking at her, something heated and intent in his dark eyes. Naomi, he said softly. She stepped back quickly, professionally. You're healing well, another day, and you should be able to move around more freely. And then I'll leave. Yes, just like that. I'll walk out of your life, and you'll go back to your clinic and your normal existence. That's the plan. Plans change. He was still looking at her in that intense way. You saved my life. In my world, that creates a debt. A bond. I don't want your debt or your bond. I want you healed and gone. Liar. The word was soft but certain. You feel it too. This connection. This pull. You can lie to yourself, but not to me. You're delusional from pain medication. I'm completely lucid. And I know what I'm feeling. Question is, are you brave enough to admit what you're feeling? Naomi turned away, busying herself with putting away the medical supplies. Her hands were shaking now, that post-crisis tremor finally catching up with her. I'm feeling like I made a mistake. Like I should have called the police from the start. But you didn't. And you won't. Because despite everything, despite knowing what I am, you don't regret saving me. You don't want me to leave. Not really. Stop. Why? Because I'm saying things you don't want to hear. Because I'm right? She whirled on him. Because this is insane. You're a criminal. I'm a doctor. You live in a world of violence, and I live in a world of healing. There's no universe where this, whatever this is, makes sense. Sense is overrated. He stood, slowly, carefully, moved toward her. She should have backed away, should have maintained distance. But she didn't. You're the first person in years who's looked at me and seen a man instead of a monster or a tool. Do you know how rare that is? G1. You're brave and brilliant, and you risked everything to help a stranger. That's not common. That's extraordinary. He was close now. Too close. She could feel the heat of him, could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Her heart was racing, and it had nothing to do with fear. This is a bad idea, she whispered. Terrible idea, he agreed. The worst. Neither of them moved away. Before we see what happens next, let me know in the comments. Are you Team Naomi or Team G1? Do you think she should run or stay? And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, do it now. Episode 2 is dropping soon, and things are about to get dangerously complicated. His phone shattered the moment, ringing with sharp insistence. He closed his eyes, jaw tightening in frustration, then stepped back and answered it. What? A pause. His expression changed, going cold and hard. When? Another pause. Increased security. No one in or out without clearance. I'll be there when I can. He ended the call and looked at Naomi. I need to leave. Tonight. You're not ready. It doesn't matter. There's a situation. My presence is required. You'll tear your stitches. You'll bleed out. Then come with me. Monitor my condition. Make sure I don't die stupidly after you went to all the trouble of saving me. Come with you where? My home. It's secure, private. You'll be safe. And you can ensure I don't undo all your excellent medical work. I can't just leave my life for one night. Just one night. Please. The word please sounded strange coming from him. I'm asking, not ordering. Come with me. Keep me alive a little longer. She should say no. Should refuse absolutely. Should put her foot down and insist he stay here or leave, but without her involvement. One night, she heard herself say. And then this is over. Deal? Deal. But as she packed a bag, as she helped him to his feet and out to the black car that appeared at her curb as if summoned by magic, Naomi knew the truth. This wasn't going to be over. Not in one night, not anytime soon. She'd saved Kang Ji-won's life. And in doing so, she'd bound herself to him in ways she was only beginning to understand. The man who'd been bleeding out on a soul sidewage had become something else. Something more dangerous than a bullet wound. He'd become someone she couldn't walk away from. The car slid through Seoul's nighttime streets, tinted windows hiding them from the world. Ji-won sat beside her, his warmth a constant presence. His hand, when it brushed hers on the seat between them, didn't pull away. And neither did hers. You saved me, he said quietly, so you're mine now. Whether you like it or not. Whether you accept it or not. Mine to protect. Mine to keep safe. Mine. She should have protested. Should have argued. Should have rejected the possessiveness in his voice and the certainty in his words. But all she could do was watch the city lights blur past and wonder what she'd really saved that night on the empty street. A life? Or her own downfall? The answer, she suspected, was both. Outside her window, Seoul gleamed and beckoned, beautiful and dangerous in equal measure. Just like the man beside her. Just like the future she couldn't see but could feel approaching, inevitable as dawn. She'd crossed a line. She'd saved a monster, or a man, or something in between, and now there was no going back. The car carried them deeper into the night, toward a world of shadows and violence and impossible choices. Toward a penthouse fortress, where safety and captivity were two sides of the same coin. Toward a future Naomi couldn't predict but somehow couldn't turn away from. She'd made her choice on that empty street, and now she'd have to live with the consequences, whatever they might be. Thanks so much for watching episode 1 of this series. If you made it all the way to the end, You're absolutely amazing. Show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss episode 2. Turn on notifications because things are about to get intense. What do you think is waiting for Naomi at the penthouse? Will she escape or will she fall deeper into Jiwon's world? Drop your theories in the comments below. I love reading your thoughts. And hey, if you enjoyed this story, share it with a friend who loves dark romance and mafia stories. Until next time, remember, some choices change everything.